first string of events. So last week was my first event ever in Dallas. I just started All Things STEM with Ashley in January, but I'm super excited for what it will grow into. And I appreciate all my great friends here supporting me and sharing their knowledge and tips for success with you all so that we can help the next future leaders in STEM. So I'm Ashley Jeter, and we're going to go around and introduce each of our panelists, and then we will get started. So Natalie, please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
So my name is Natalie Tilson. I am in the aerospace industry. Specifically, I'm an electronics engineer. I've been with this role for 5 years. I am the subject matter expert for 2 safety critical systems at my job. How I got into STEM is mostly just the influence I had in high school, the different mentors and everything that were in my network. And I'm just really passionate about STEM. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Aprajita. I work as a project manager for an aerospace company. Been in that role for about 1.5 years now. And I got into STEM primarily from, I would say, elementary school. So my parents kind of pushed me towards math and science, and turned out I really liked it, and that's what I decided to pursue.
Hi everyone, I'm Naksha Roy. I am very excited to be here today. So I'm currently a systems engineer in the aerospace and defense industry. My work is focused on integrating digital tools to make system design and lifecycle management of air vehicles more connected, more efficient, what we often refer to as advancing the digital thread in systems engineering. I guess I'm from Queens, New York, and that I'm very proud of that plays a big part in me advocating for STEM spaces to be more inclusive and more, more inclusive, and excited to be able to share this space with you all today, and great to see a lot of women in STEM and a lot of allies of women in STEM as well.
Hello everyone, my name is Armani Screen. I am a project manager at a mechanical and engineering firm. I have recently worked on one of my favorite projects, which was the Atlanta Airport de-widening, but we do a lot of data center work as well, the aquarium, and a lot of other projects. So I got into construction because my parents actually had a construction company growing up, and I started off in virtual construction, which people don't know a lot about, but it's called Building Information Modeling Management. So from that digital side, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then I transitioned over to operations, honestly, because it was a lot more money. So, which a lot of people that does, enter people when it comes to STEM careers. But my path is a little bit different, and I can't wait to talk to you about it because you don't have to go to college to get to where I am.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shania Williams. I'm a cosmetic scientist, cosmetic formulation scientist. I've been in the industry for over 10 years. I have a degree in chemistry from North Carolina A&T, go Aggies. I'm originally from New Jersey, Bloomfield, New Jersey to be exact. My goal is to essentially, no one really gave me the pathway into cosmetic science unless you were going to college or well within your master's. There was really no pathway before bachelor's or into bachelor's. So that's my goal now. I'm the owner of Self-Worth Cosmetics, and I go around and I teach formulation workshops. And I'm also a consultant, so I also help brand owners come up with formulations and, post-formulation help, all that stuff, quality, all that. So that's what I'm here for. So I'm excited to talk to you guys today. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Pham. I am currently a materials and process engineer within the aerospace industry. I graduated from North Carolina State University. So same state, yeah. With a degree in textile technology, and then I went straight into my master's with textile chemistry. I even pivoted within my undergraduate career. I did engineering, and then I went into more of like a science technology side. And then my first job was more of a R&D chemist, and then I pivoted within that career to an engineering role. So my path wasn't as clear to me. I did naturally just err more to the side of science and math. And so I think that's how I got pushed into it. But yeah, I'm excited to talk to you about my journey and really help and support a lot of these people, allies that are, wanting to pursue something in STEM but maybe don't feel confident enough or just have some questions that I'm happy to help answer.
Excellent. I'm Ashley Jeter. I studied Metallurgical Engineering at the University of Alabama. Roll Tide, everybody. I continued and got my master's at Vanderbilt in Engineering Management. I am currently a project engineer in an aerospace defense industry, so we're glad to have you here. So now we're going to go around and ask everybody how they got introduced to STEM and what inspired them to pursue STEM as a career. So we can start with Jessica.
So as I said, I didn't really have a clear path, just my culture in general. I think my parents wanted me to become a doctor or, something of the sort. And I would kind of push towards that, and then I realized just going to school and being around people and learning about what everyone else does, I was like, this is not really for me. I wanted to pursue something that I have an interest in and I want to be able to make an impact in on a large scale. So it took a lot of trial and error, trying to figure out what exactly it is that I liked. I think the most of my forming came from high school. I think that was the most time where any child is stressed out, right? Trying to go into college and figuring out what major. But I've always been interested in just product development, whether it was in textiles, clothes, how things worked. I always asked a lot of why questions as a child, so I think that kind of naturally led into engineering and how to solve problems and stuff like that. So yeah, and then a lot of my friends as well, growing up in that community, I grew up in Cary, North Carolina. So very suburbs, we had a lot of resources available for us, especially in the STEM field, and so that definitely pushed me along that track.
How I got started was into the cosmetic industry. During my junior year, I was getting all A's and B's in all courses except chemistry was the most challenging subject for me. And my junior high school teacher, Ms. Reynolds, essentially asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I was watching YouTube at the time before anyone got monetized, everyone was doing the tutorials and everything. I said, oh, I want to be a makeup artist. And she was like, you're too smart to play in makeup, go and make the makeup. So that's essentially how I went to North Carolina A&T, got a degree in chemistry. I graduated on a Friday. I walked into the biggest makeup manufacturer on that Monday, which is Cosmex USA, up in New Jersey. And then essentially I went to Tri-K Industries, which is Denville. And then I came down here. COVID hit, of course. I was furloughed. Life happens. And I started working for EcoCert USA, which is where I go around domestically to all makeup manufacturers, brand owners who are Cosmos certified, and essentially check their formulas, their product development from thought to finish, everything the production area I check, and if anything is wrong, it gets pulled off the shelf. So I'm like the sheriff in the cosmetic industry, essentially. And so that was kind of my journey and path into the cosmetic industry, was just essentially jumping into it. I really didn't have a roadmap into the cosmetic industry, so now I'm going back to make the roadmap for other people and other future chemists who want to be in the cosmetic industry, and also let them know that they're different. You don't have to just be behind the bench. You can be in quality, you can be in wherever you want to be essentially, but there's so many different positions within cosmetic chemistry. As well as we are the biggest dollar, black dollar is the biggest dollar in the cosmetic industry, we're the least in the lab. So that's another goal of mine, is to essentially introduce cosmetic chemistry into communities that look like me and people who look like me. So, yeah.
So, I already told you all, my parents had a construction company. So from the age of 12 up until I graduated, I was like an employee, but like not always getting paid. So I was able to get engulfed into construction at a young age, and it was really intriguing. But honestly, I'm not like everyone else. I didn't like math. I like science and I like English. I love to write. So when I went to school, at first I was like, I'm gonna be an English major. And then I realized, what kind of job am I gonna get? And I don't feel like I'm gonna make enough money. And I'm a little bougie, so I was like, I need a job that's gonna pay a little more. So I ended up going to Southern Polytechnic University and majoring in construction management. And I went to school for that. I graduated, and I ended up working government. Well, if you know government, limited money. Because unless someone is like passing away, it's hard to move up, and there's a lot of politics, you gotta deal with commissioning. And so after a few years of that, I was like, you know what, I gotta pivot. Let me actually do what I went to school for. I ended up getting a lot of certifications and things that were valuable, but it was just limiting as far as like what I could do career-wise. So I ended up going into project management on the virtual construction side, and I went back to school for BIM. I'm actually the first woman to graduate with a degree in BIM, and it's a newer degree because I was like, if I'm gonna pivot, I didn't want to do project management. I want to do something that involved tech because I felt like that was the future. Like, let me figure out something that was gonna sustain me for years to come. So BIM was it. Virtual construction was something that was new, but it was really big globally, like in Europe. A lot of countries over there are using it. It's mandatory on any construction project. You have to have BIM used. And it's only mandated in Washington State and one other state in the United States. So it's not mandatory, but it's so beneficial, and it helps save money, it cuts risks, it alleviates a lot of problems before you start actually building it, because you're building it virtually first, and you're able to do clash detection. So once I got into that, it was really cool. And then I started seeing, the project managers at my job, and I'm like, hold on, how much was your bonus? So honestly, I'm being real with you. That really made me want to see what the operations side is. And I think being the oldest daughter, I already had history of managing people and being a leader. So project management really fit my role. And once I got into it, it was all natural from there. And being on the projects, being able to experience like new things before people hear about it, it's really interesting to me. So just being in my company, I'm the only female that's a project manager that looks like me. So it's also just my way to go out into the world and be able to encourage other women that, hey, you can do this too. Like, there are people to luck you, and I want to be able to give back to the community in that way and like educate women on other opportunities that aren't typical STEM jobs.
Before you pass it, can you explain BIM?
BIM is Building Information Modeling Management. That's what it stands for. And this is why I want to say that. So to become a project manager, you can make 6 figures. You can get bonuses that are up to 6 figures, and you don't have to go to college. And that's something that I want. A lot of people feel like you have to go to college. You can go into a trade. You can go to get a 2-year degree. There's other ways to get to where I am. And with BIM, it's a similar situation. It is a 4-year degree. But you can get into BIM in an untraditional way. And you're working in software like Revit, Technical Structures, AutoCAD. You're learning all these different programs to help companies build things virtually, to see what are clashing with other trades virtually before you actually build it. You say it costs 10 times more to fix something in the field than it does virtually. So imagine the cost savings. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so how I got introduced to STEM, from an early age I was very drawn to math, and once I kind of started to see it applied in chemistry and physics as I went through schooling, I think that was even more exciting, and it opened up a world of possibilities for me. I would say what made me pursue a career in STEM were really the impactful hands-on experience that I was able to engage in through high school and college. So in high school, for instance, I was able to do a project at a research center in New York City on a focus in nanotechnology for drug development. So that was very formative because it showed me as a very early, very early on in my career, right, I can contribute to research for such important applications. And then afterwards, I went to MIT for chemical engineering, and when I, in that experience, I basically went out of my way to find all the opportunities where I could use my engineering skills and knowledge and be able to give back to my community. So one of the projects that I think really shaped my kind of experience there was being able to work with the Navajo Nation, going out there in New Mexico and helping to build a water tank system for the community there. that really showed me that I can use my skills and knowledge to be able to bring something better for the communities that I'm part of, and therefore that a career in STEM is truly going to be rewarding, fulfilling. So yeah, and that's kind of what led me to pursue STEM post-grad as well.
So I started, I'd say like probably exposed to STEM in elementary school, especially in the fields of math and science through Math Olympiad, Science Olympiad, and I would say I come from a family of engineers, so it was kind of seemed like the right path to take. But once I got into high school and started taking those advanced placement classes, I realized I really enjoyed math more than science. So when it came to going to college and figuring out which major, kind of narrowed it down to industrial engineering, which is what I pursued at Georgia Tech. Everything else really relied on science, which wasn't my strong suit at the time. And then another great aspect of industrial engineering is it's so broad, you can kind of go into any industry you want. You're not really siloed into one place. So that's how I basically navigated from early elementary school into college, and then now I do use aspects of industrial engineering with that root cause corrective analysis, and I think having that IE degree makes it pretty versatile for me to go into whichever job I want to go into in the future.
I would say that the way I got interested into STEM was just pretty much based on my interest. I always had an interest in math and science. Even though the classes sometimes would be difficult, I enjoyed that challenge. So the reason is very simple. However, my journey was a little bumpy. So I got my bachelor's degree in exercise science, and with that degree, typically people become physical therapists. Life does happen, you switch your focus, you switch your desires. So then I went back and got a software engineering degree. So currently I am at an aerospace industry working not in software engineering, but as an electronics engineer. So it's almost like I liked it so much, I bounced everywhere in STEM. I'm all over the place. So I'll just say it's okay to switch your focus. If you just are really passionate and just can't make up your mind, it's okay as long as you get to the finish line.
That's good. You can keep the mic because for Natalie, Shania, and Armani, I want to ask, have you had any mentors who helped shape your journey in STEM? If so, who are they and how did they impact you?
I would say my biggest mentor in STEM is my father. He works actually at the same industry career that I'm at right now. Just seeing him growing up, just having a stable job, having a job in which he's passionate about, that's what really sold me. I know I went on a journey of what type of career I wanted in the STEM arena, but I knew it would always be STEM, so I'm very thankful to have had him in my life.
My main mentor is my aunt. She also went to North Carolina A&T. She's an electrical engineer. And just seeing her path at a young age, I used to literally cry when she would go off to college. But seeing her go and strive and just be such a trailblazer in her job, and she works for Siemens. So just seeing her and the path that she's taken and going from one company to another and just killing it every time and just progressing throughout her career and just starting off very young in the industry before STEM was like popular, you know, or like everyone wanted to be in STEM. Like she did it from like, because she's older. So seeing her go to school and just be successful and seeing where she is in life now, I go to her for advice as far as like, even just how should I negotiate like how much money I should make? How should I handle this situation as a woman? Like she gives me advice, not just career-wise, but like just navigating the whole process. So she's my person.
My mentor is Nikita Wilson, who is the VP of Product Development for Pattern, which is Tracy Ellis Ross's brand. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that. Me and her basically have essentially the same story in the cosmetic industry as far as just trying to find a roadmap to get into the lab, to get into these positions and just make a difference. She has been just so supportive of me and my journey, telling me, how to move, stay on top of things as far as in the cosmetic industry, because it's so many new trends, things are constantly changing, you have to be on top of it, as well as encouraging me to understand that you always don't need a degree. She recently just got her degree 3 years ago as far as a master's, and that was kind of one of the things I was a little insecure about, and she was just like, it doesn't matter, it's people who have master's degrees who are failing at their job. So you can, as long as you know what you're doing and you get your name out there and you make a difference within the community, it really doesn't matter what piece of paper you have attached to you. So I think with that kind of really opened the whole door to Lab and Learn, where I wanted to bring it onto universities and campuses, but as well as bring it to the community for those people who aren't or will not be able to get on college campuses. So that's my mentor.
Awesome. Next we have a question for Shania, Happy, and Naksha, saying, for those seeking mentorship, how should they go about finding a mentor? You start.
Oh, okay. Talk. Do your job. Talk. Keep in contact with people, even if they are difficult with you at work. Essentially, go where you're valued. Always, of course, go where you're valued and respected, number one. However, making sure you're keeping those connections. The cosmetic industry is such a small industry, even though it's large and it's international. However, literally my old manager here domestically knew my new manager over in Europe. That's how small it is. So being able to keep those connections, good reputations, really showing people and honing in on people who are essentially who you deem as a master or want to be like, and then learning from them and not learning from them lazily, actually putting in the effort. It's easy to stay a 7 to 4 shift, but if you're there till 6 o'clock, and that's showing someone, okay, you're really serious about this. So now I can go into my treasure chest of gems and really show you what I know and how to do it versus just giving you surface level information that you could Google or chat GPT. So that's my advice. Do the work, go the extra mile. It's worth it all the time.
Yeah, I would say definitely utilize the groups or communities that you're part of. For instance, college or high school, like being part of groups like Society of Women Engineers or whatever groups you're part of, those oftentimes have strong alumni networks, and there's folks that want to stay part of those, even like college chapters or high school chapters, right? So get in touch. You'll find folks that are like-minded or that you share a lot in common with, background-wise or your stories-wise, or how you're kind of navigating the STEM journey. So use that as a conversation starter, right? Make connections in that way. I will say that before even going out and seeking mentors, do kind of a self-reflection exercise, asking yourself, what do you expect out of that mentorship? Right? Asking yourself, what are some skills that you want to hone in? Or are you interested in learning about a particular industry? Or do you want a mentor who can speak to various industries and give you kind of that broad overview that you're looking for? And so when you do this kind of self-reflection before even going out and finding mentors, then you're better prepared, for those conversations when you do approach potential mentors and can articulate these things and set those expectations straight. And I think that helps you kind of determine the compatibility between yourself and potential mentors as well.
Great. I think everyone here has done a great job in terms of coming to a networking event. I think that's a great way to find a mentor. So seek out those local events. If not, ways I found mentors was through work and through college. So leverage your alumni networks. Because oftentimes alumni just want to help students. We've all been through it, talk about their journey, and they're also very connected out in the world. So even if they're not in the field that you choose to go into, or you're seeking someone of a different background, chances are they can find someone. And then last but not least, I would say really build your mentor network at work, at an internship, or where you work currently. So if you're in a position, for example, I was in a position where I didn't want to pursue this career, I was looking for a way out. My manager was very nice in the way of having that conversation and then connecting me with mentors in that organization that I want to go into. So that was very valuable. So just be vocal about it, reach out, and then chances are you'll probably find someone that wants to grow their network and help you grow as well.
You can keep the mic because for you, Jessica and Naksha, we have what are key skills, both technical and soft skills, do you think are critical for women in STEM to develop early in their careers?
So I would say technical is not really super technical skill, but have a curious mindset. I think especially in STEM, focusing in on the science and the technology, really being curious and thinking of innovative solutions will get you pretty far, I would say. And soft skills, something that it took me time to develop this, especially as a woman, is growing a thick skin. So personally for me, I'm a people pleaser. I love getting along with people. I'm not very confrontational. And it took me, I would say, working for about 2 or 3 years to realize not everyone's going to like me, and it might be for reasons that are very absurd, and it's nothing that I can change. For example, they might not like me because my favorite color is pink. Well, I can't change that. So growing a thick skin, it took me time to not really hone in on what people say to me and to get to me and whatnot. So looking into ways into how to make sure other people's thoughts don't affect you will go a long way.
Yeah, so definitely agree what you've said there, very important. I think technical skill, one thing that I wish I focused on a little bit more in college was learning scripting and coding. I didn't prioritize it as much. It did come up because I did do engineering, so I had to do a little bit of coding. But it's very important now, no matter what industry you go in, know at least the basics of it, know different languages, programming languages if you can. Not just to kind of meet the requirements of that job, right, but also because when you know those things, you can begin to see certain processes or activities at work from a different perspective, right? A lot of manual kind of things that happen. Coding gives you a unique perspective where you can see like, okay, you know what, I can actually automate this using these tools, right? So I think definitely I would say that is a technical skill that if you can develop, doesn't even have to be in college. You can take courses on your own, like on YouTube, whatever, right? Like you can learn anything from YouTube these days, but whatever you do, like definitely that's a skill that you, I think, want to prioritize now. So I guess soft skills. So soft skills, I would say public speaking. Very, very important because ultimately when you're in the industry, you'll make something super technical, it's going to be super cool. Well, guess what? You're going to have to deliver it and explain it to someone higher up in management or someone outside of your organization, stakeholders, customers who are not super familiar with the technical side. You're going to have to know how to deliver, right, and explain your product in a way that makes sense to those people so you get their support and their concurrence. And to be able to do that is an art and that takes practice. And I think also knowing how to tailor it based on your audience too. The way you deliver it to your technical lead is not going to be the way you deliver it to a customer who has no familiarity with the technical side. Yeah. So you know, that takes practice, to be honest. And I think one thing, so we talked about mentors, and one thing you can utilize your mentors for is that, you know, ask them if you can do practice sessions for your presentations, right? Like utilize them in that way, and I'm sure they will say yes and give you honest feedback, you know, if they really want to be your mentors. So yeah, I would say those two skills definitely are important.
So some technical skills I think would be helpful on top of everything that Abby and Naksha has already mentioned. A lot of the things nowadays is digital, right? There's software and, you know, just even learning shortcuts on Excel, right? I don't even know all of the shortcuts, but people are showing me things that's helping me become more efficient. I'm showing those things, passing it along to my teammates, and that's increasing the efficiency of the entire team. So I think having that knowledge, or at least that curiosity to go out and learn something new that maybe you weren't well versed in before, whether that be like coding or just learning a system within your job that no one else really has, and that gives you that extra edge to stand out and perform even better. Soft skills, I think, especially being a woman, me personally, I was very timid a lot of the times, more shy, more of a wallflower, kind of sit back. But now, in my industry today, I am a lot of the times the only woman at the table. I think in STEM, it's probably like 20 to 30% is women. And then in my industry, it's probably even less. So you have to have that confidence in yourself to speak up. You are the subject matter expert. You were there for a reason, so you've got to be able to speak up and show everybody here that you're also a team player. You're not sitting here just to look pretty. And then on top of that, I think being flexible, having just being able to pivot and being able to take things on the chin and get up and get on a new path if you need. Sometimes you aren't handed things and you have to, like a lot of us here, really just figure out our own path and make our own. And I think that's why we're all here, is to show everybody what we've done so far and also help everybody hold that door for anyone else who wants to come through.
I love it. Keep in mind, because everyone answers this next question. It is, what has been your proudest achievement in your career or STEM journey so far?
I've had, I'd say, in different parts of my life in school and my first job and this job, there's been some key moments. One I can talk about is from college. I was part of a senior design challenge, and back then I was doing textile technology, so I was working with a company that did clothing, apparel, and they wanted to get more into the innovative sector in terms of trying to mimic biology in our clothing. So I, along with my team, developed a product and garment that moved moisture in however way we wanted to. Basically mimic and control moisture throughout a garment. For example, we get sweaty in our areas like our armpits and our back and things, and that isn't comfortable and it's not a nice look. So we've been able to, along with our education, just be able to realize, research, and kind of innovate a product using new technology, new fibers, new threads, and pushing it basically to the bottom of the garment where it will evaporate off and you don't have any of those quote-unquote pit stains. So, and because of that, we know we've won awards from the school, we've won awards from the company that sponsored that project, and we've got to essentially deliver a presentation to a lot of important people in the industry, and those are, I think, some of my greatest achievements, especially in like college.
I would say, well, one of my greatest achievements, of course, is my own company, Self-Worth Cosmetics, but within that company is Lab and Learn, where essentially I go to universities, colleges, or just within the community and teach cosmetic formulation workshops. So that was a really big goal of mine, was to figure out a way of not to only just reach out to students who were able to be within college, but also how to kind of fit in with the community, reach out to other programs that are within the community and host events as well. And then I would say also I've created my own edge control, which is a very, very hard product to do in-house, especially when you're not looking to your senior chemist or you don't have a team around you. It's just me in the lab. So that took 2 years, and that was successful. So that was one of my greatest accomplishments so far. Thank you. Thank you.
I will say one of my greatest accomplishments was, first off, going back to college with a child and getting a degree and being the first female to graduate with that degree. That's absolutely my greatest achievement career-wise, and then also being the first woman to get some of the certifications I have, such as fire plans examiner, some ICC certifications I have. I was the first one to get, first woman in my company, and I was the first woman, period, to get the fire certifications that I have. So I think a lot of the certifications or additional pieces that I've obtained, being the first woman, that's my first achievement.
Yeah, by the way, all impressive stories. Like, I am just so impressed. So last year, I led a digital transformation initiative project at my company. And I'm gonna try to not go into the technicals here again, like audience, making sure. But you know, essentially the goal, for some background, our defense customers want our proposals of our products to be more model-based. Essentially, everything that's been happening via documents, they want to see those as digital artifacts within a model. So the goal of this project was to lay out an initial process and framework for our company so that we can properly respond, you know, to whatever the customer is requesting in a model-based format. So the reason this was a pretty big accomplishment for me is, one, you know, I was able to do some very foundational work, basically set the foundation, you know, for this kind of process, which we'll continue to build and utilize as we pursue new business engagements as a company. But two, and I think this is the most important part, is I got to engage with a lot of different disciplines at my company and really learn about what they do. So not just the engineering and technology side, but also the program management side, the business development side, various other groups to understand, you know, what part do they play in this process, right? What is their current state? Where do they have to be? What are the gaps? So a lot of that information that I honestly didn't even know, you know, those groups did that, right? So I think just being able to meet with these different groups and understand who they are and what parts they play in this process was really, really eye-opening. And I'm glad that I was able to not only, you know, lay out a process that's so foundational, but also be able to learn from these teams so that in the future maybe I can be an advocate for them if there's a need to.
So I would say my biggest accomplishment would be to go into a leadership role. So I did a rotational program with the company that I work for, and for my last rotation, I went into a supervisor role. At first it was very intimidating because everyone, or the team that I led, they all were working for a longer amount of time than the number of years I was alive for, so very intimidating. Going in there super young, and then also being a female as well, but it taught me so much about myself, as well as what it takes to be a good leader. So I think really having mentors helped me throughout the journey, as well as having the experience of working under different managers and learning their leadership styles to figure out what was effective and what was not. And in the end, what I learned, which I think is like the most important thing about a leader, is you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You just have to enable your team and remove those constraints that they face every day. So yeah, I really think going into that leadership role helped me a lot in terms of personal growth as well. So going back to what I said about growing a thick skin, that's where I learned how important it is.
So I also was in a rotational program called ELDP, Engineering Leadership Development Program, and through that program I was able to bounce around to different engineering disciplines. So like you all remember, I graduated with a software engineering degree, so through the ELDP program I was able to bounce around to electronics engineering. So I had no degree to match with that exact discipline. Usually people in that field have an electronics engineering degree, an electrical engineering degree. So it was very challenging for me to kind of like catch on. I did, but it was a learning curve at the least. So that was just very humbling, and it just taught me a lot about myself. An accomplishment I achieved on that team was there was a customer meeting, sort of like a demo, and I had to explain the system in which I'm the subject matter expert for, and I got compliments from the customer on my delivery. So that was a very good achievement.
Awesome, and you can keep the mic because for you, yes. Oh, actually, Naksha, Shania, and Armani, how do you balance being authentic while maintaining professionalism in STEM spaces?
Yeah, so the balance between authenticity and I guess being diplomatic or being professional in the industry, it's a learning journey for me right now. And I think for a long time I was trying to fit the mold and trying to, speak a certain type of way or like downplay aspects of my identity just to like be taken seriously or get a seat at the table. Just as a woman, I think we've all had those times. And I think what I've just realized over time, working with different types of people and also just like talking about this challenge openly with my mentors, is that authenticity is really your best friend if you want to make strong, lasting connections with people, if you want to build trust. Because when you are, like we're here right now sharing about our journeys, and when you openly talk about your background and what you've been through, I think if anything, you just build more trust with other people and you open up room for a lot of collaboration, right? And I think professionalism doesn't necessarily have to mean that you can't be authentic. Because when I think of professionalism, I think of just having respect, right? Taking accountability and having emotional intelligence. And you can be all of those things while still staying true to yourself, your values, and just being authentically yourself. You can still advocate for the things that matter to you while still remaining professional. So it's easier said than done. I completely recognize that, but I think definitely prioritize the authenticity. Be yourself as much as you can to really, make lasting, strong connections with folks, and then the professionalism will kind of follow, and you'll figure out the balance between the two.
As we've already figured, STEM is not really dominated by women. It's male dominated. Specifically for my industry in construction, it is a white male dominated industry. And seeing women in general is far and few in between. In my company specifically, we only had one female ever be a project manager until 2018. So just to paint a picture of what it looks like. So coming into an industry like that, it can feel intimidating. It can feel as if you have to pretend to be something to make it. And I didn't want to do that because when I worked in government and construction still on that side, they didn't even have maternity leave. Like that, because it was men that always had the job, so they didn't feel a need to have that. So coming into the company I'm at now, I came in authentic. I'm like, I'm not gonna straighten my hair. I'm gonna wear braids. I'm gonna have my hair curly. I'm gonna come how I am. I'm not gonna put on a voice. I'm gonna speak the way I speak. And that way, when I come into the interview, if you like me and you hire me, then I know that you're hiring me for who I am, not who I'm trying to pretend to be, because then that's going to be the expectation I'm going to have to keep up. And on top of already managing projects, I don't want to have to be trying to manage a false person that I'm trying to pretend to be. And I don't want to have imposter syndrome either. So I started being more confident in who I am and understanding that I have the education, I have the experience, and I am capable, and I am worthy of this position. And if they hire me, they see that too. So I came in with that confidence and being authentic. And now I am who I am at work, and I let my fruit speak for me.
Awesome. So for Jessica and Abby, we have.
Are you gonna skip me? For that question?
I have.
Okay, so for me, I kind of have the opposite story. I went into Cosmax that Monday, the Friday after I graduated, being my authentic self, and that got me fired 3 months in. So just let me just give you another perspective. So within my industry, you have to have a certain etiquette in the lab. You have to learn certain terminologies, certain protocols and rules. I came in there as my authentic self, locks, black woman. It was only 3 black people in the whole lab. One of them was a manager, and then it was 2 of us, and we're on opposite sides of the lab. So I didn't see anyone who looked like me the whole day, every day. So with that being said, I figured, yeah, let me be more of my authentic self. Let me be the personality character. Let me, Afro, black. It's a certain etiquette that if you do bring in as your authentic self fully, before you could get into a position where you can really fully be authentic, it can hinder you. You have to walk before you crawl. And I'm not saying to not be your authentic self, but I came in with a big head. I have a degree in chemistry. I know what I'm doing. I've been mixing, I've been doing all this in my little kitchen apartment, so I already know what I'm doing. I'm gonna be Shania. And that didn't go over well. So I had to learn the traits, the tricks of the trade as far as personality-wise in order to, okay, I know I can't say certain things because Cosmax was a Korean-based skincare. So it's when you're working with different nationalities who are not yours, it's a certain etiquette and professionalism that you have to know and acquire. That your authentic self, especially as a Black woman in STEM, may be seen as unprofessional. Even though it is professional and you're just being your authentic self, it's not perceived that way to people who are superior to you, far as controlling whether you work for them or not. So that's just my perspective. Always, yes, be your authentic self, but learn the tricks and trade of the game and make sure that you learn the role that you're in and the power you have within that role. Don't go overstepping just because it's you. You can be you all the time. However, make sure you test the temperature of the water before you go and splash and be yourself. So.
You can pass it back to Jess.
Okay.
This next question is for Jessica and Appy. Can you share some effective strategies for networking within STEM fields? And how has networking played a role in your career growth? And how do you find networking opportunities?
I think it's very important to build a network like a web. So out in any and all directions, right? Not just vertically, not just I'm going to only talk to the VP because that's who I want to be. I think it's important to talk to people laterally, people of the same, discipline and even different, like not even in STEM. Especially at my job, it's basically a very well-oiled machine. You've got a lot of different moving parts, a lot of people who help you reach the one goal. And so you never know who you're going to need to talk to and who that person knows. And so it's kind of like building a string, and then that will eventually, just exponentially grow. So I think the easiest way for me is to make a personal connection first and be very mindful that you're still in a professional environment. But for me, I don't necessarily have to set up a 30-minute call, put it on your calendar for us to have a connection, right? I can walk down the hallway, I can walk wherever. If I see you, I'll ask you how you're doing, see what you have going on the weekend, or if I know you've had an event that was important, I'll ask about it. And that kind of is very simple, but it does a lot. You're going to remember somebody who remembers something about you, right? We don't want to just come up and be, talk about work all the time, and to me that's a little boring. Like, I'll talk about this, but I want to tell you and know about something a little bit more personal. And so that way you can continue building something that you know is authentic, and it's not just based on the job. Sometimes it could feel a little, I guess, not sincere if somebody's always just asking me about the job role that I currently do. And I think it's got to match your personality as well. If you're more of like a bubbly, talkative person, you can go around and say hey and hi to everybody and just keep up. If you're more of a structured person and you do prefer putting a meeting on a calendar to speak, by all means. That's just personally how I grew my network. A lot of times, credit to Ashley as well. I meet a lot of people through Ashley, and then, from there on, it just kind of builds. I like to keep things just more natural.
Awesome. Now, Appy.
I like that. So similar to what Jess said, really grow that network, whether it be at work, from school. It could be from a workout class. So for example, there's this one lady at my workout class that works for Coca-Cola, and one of my really good friends works at Coca-Cola. It turns out they're cube mates. Mm-hmm. So they sit right next to each other, and it got me to realize the world out there is really small. You never know who you're going to meet. So really focus on building that network, and the first step is attend events like this, for example. You never know who you're going to meet, as well as just go and talk to someone. So I really like that piece that you said about personal connection or finding something like that. So what I'll do is if I meet someone new and they went to Georgia Tech, I'll instantly be like, oh, what year did you graduate? And then we'll just start talking about Georgia Tech for 30 minutes. And that's really helped me build a lot of the connections that I have. Or, I don't know, sometimes I'll just look at their desk, and if something really strikes me, I'll ask them, oh, where did you get this? And they'll just talk about it. And people love to talk about themselves, from what I found, so it makes it really easy to build that connection.
Awesome.
And then last thing I'll say is networking never really stops. So it might help you get your first job, but continue to build that network because you never know where it'll lead you.
Thank you. So next for Jessica and Armani, we have what resources would you recommend to young women pursuing STEM careers?
I think it depends on the industry you're in. It definitely changes as far as resources. So I'm gonna just speak on my industry. I think Jessica will be able to share some more stuff. But for me, also networking. I think relationships are the biggest component. People will support you just because they like you. Just because they like you. You can be you might not even be the best, but because they like you, they're gonna support you. So building relationships is really important. Joining communities, even on social media, like on Facebook, there's groups for women in different STEM fields that you can join on social media. If you're not comfortable going out and networking in person, you may have social anxiety or something, you can join things virtually. There's so many webinars, free webinars that you can join in, that you can meet people and network. Find them on LinkedIn afterwards and just send a message. So it doesn't have to be in person is obviously great because you get to see the person's face, but definitely just take advantage of other resources online as well. There's also a lot of free classes, free courses. We've talked about YouTube University. You have Udemy, you have Coursera. There's so many other online programs. If you're not sure which direction you want to go into, you can buy a $12 course to start getting introduced to certain fields and see oh, okay, I do like where this is going, and then continue from there. So yeah, just joining different groups, joining different local, like NESB, for example. That's an organization you can join. Women in Construction is one I'm a part of. There's LEAD groups. There's so many groups to join that you can be a part of and that do events like this all the time. Women in Technology. There's a lot of things. So just continue to network and just join groups. If you can't just find a networking event, if you join groups, they'll get you connected.
Google. To be honest, I just Googled, STEM resources near me, just for today, right? And so many things popped up that I never even heard of, but they're so easily accessible. The resources are out there. You just have to take that initiative and go find it. I will say a lot of, let's say for this area, or say if you live in Texas or something, if you have a major engineering school, a STEM school, a lot of the times they will have programs for students and kids in that area to get ahead and just learn more about that. So you can just reach out and Google Georgia Tech. I'm sure they have some things. And then also if you have Fortune 500 companies or whatever company that you're trying to aspire to work for, and that's in your area, they a lot of the times will also have volunteering events or set up some sort of professional development or kind of like a infomercial of what they do, and you can get connected through them. There's a lot of just very informal, laid back events that are free. So as long as you are just open to researching and talking to people, you've got 6 or 7 of us that you've already put in your connection, and you can reach out to one of us and we'll always help you.
I just also want to add, if you have any young cousins, siblings, children, grandchildren, nieces, whatever, Georgia Tech specifically has, and they do it every year, they do like a STEM fair. And it's like, I think it's like a month long or maybe even longer, and it's free. And it's different classes, different courses, different programs, different like activities that you can do and bring the kids. Like a lot of us spoke on getting that inspiration at a young age. So take them to those situations as well, and to those opportunities. And you can network while you're there. A lot of them are students, a lot of them are former alumni that come back and bring their kids, so you never know who you may meet. And it's also exposing the children to those experiences and allowing them to see the different types of STEM opportunities that they have as well. And it's very like hands-on interactive, so I just want to put that out.
Awesome. Next for Naksha and Natalie. This is our last question. We have, what advice would you give to young women thinking about majoring in a STEM field?
Yeah, I think we've all talked about networking so much, but it's because it's so important. You know, Abby, I think you had said that networking never ends, and I think that's something very important to keep in mind. Start it as early as you can, and just have that mindset it never ends. So just continuously do that. And I think, Jess, you were saying never limit yourself to just, one function, but try to kind of get out there, get an idea of different disciplines, different functions, different industries, right? Just really understand what's out there, because you never know. You might like something now, but upon hearing about, another field, you might be drawn to that and might choose to pursue something in that. So I would say definitely networking. And then secondly is be curious and ask questions. Right, because I think I think we all naturally kind of do this, like at an early age. Like kids always ask, like, why is the sky blue? Or like, why is this? Why is that? But it's so important to encourage that, because that is the start. That is being curious at that early age is what leads us to like really do innovative work later down the line. So I think just if you have relatives, younger relatives, or if you are yourself are asking a lot of these questions, don't stop yourself from doing that. Keep on asking questions, because that is when you ask those questions, and a lot of the times you'll realize that the answers don't exist. Well, maybe you will find the solution. Maybe you will find the answer, right? So I think just always be curious, ask questions, and make sure you grow your network as much as you can.
I would say, like we've stated before, seek out a mentor. Always bring your authenticity. And I would also say, if you do fail, it's okay. Get back up, try again. You do not have to be the smartest person. You have to have the drive. And you're in charge of your career, your journey. Believe in yourself, and you'll find your way. So you got this.
Awesome, thank you, and thank you all for being on the panel today. Thank you to everyone for coming and joining this event. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate your time on this weekend. And so for the filming, we will stop in a moment. We just want to say thank you for watching. No, don't stop yet. We're gonna all wait by. Like, subscribe, comment, and each of these ladies will have their individual episode posted soon. Appy is this upcoming week. We had Naksha last week, so tune in, and we'll see you next time. Okay, we're gonna wait for the camera. And now Thank you all for watching All Things STEM with Ashley. This was our International Women's Day event in Atlanta. I want to say a special shout out to all the panelists for sharing their wisdom, their knowledge, and thank you for their time. Thank you for our setup crew with Yanlei and Abdi. We appreciate everyone's support and the men that support us and allies in STEM. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. Bye.